So I think the biggest challenge over the next 5 years, people will expect to be able to aggregate their information, take services from others that will look at that information and provide them advice independently. And I would expect them therefore to be more informed when they sit down with their advisor. Equally, as advisors, we should be able to use that technology to aggregate and provide an overall advice picture. But it will challenge people, it will challenge margins, and it will challenge transparency. I think both of those are great for the consumer at the end of the day.
The greatest challenge to the industry, I mean, I think it's very easy to say it's the regulatory framework, which is always a challenge. I think it will be keeping a pace with some of the new entrants into the market, but I think one of the interesting things, if you combine those two pieces, is that actually, as wealth managers, we do have a head start on the new entrants in terms of understanding the regulatory framework. We just need to make sure that we can capitalise on that head start.
I think the industry hasn't got the same challenges that everyone seems to profess. They've been saying for the last 10 years, the industry is going to die in the next 5 years, it's going to die in the next 5 years, and it continues to stay relevant to clients because people do still care about the human interaction. But those are still going to face the issue with digitalisation. The biggest challenge is going to be around the opening up of banking and the aggregation of different services. It's no longer just good enough to have your entire product set and be your internal. It's about being open market, being collaborative. And that is the organisations that wake up and say, look, we are actually going to be the relationship with a client, but we will take lending from this bank or lending from that bank and be able to offer and be genuinely open market and open architecture is those that will succeed best.
I think the greatest challenge that faces the industry in the next 5 years is the adoption of the right technologies. I think also combined with there'll be a natural pressure on pricing, which we're already seeing, and we must make sure that we use those technologies in order that we can improve our pricing for the investor.
The greatest challenge facing the industry over the next 5 years is to really wake up to the degree of wealth that is going to flow through families and generations. In the UK, it's going to start to notch up north of $500 billion to $1 trillion in the next 5 to 10 years. So they've got to be ready for this. There is still probably a good few years left in this bull market. The industry's got to really be experimenting and trying things out. So that really, to me, is the key thing they've got to get savvy with, and is have just to get immersed in how this tech is changing the way we work. They've got to be talking to millennials that work in these organizations. They've got to be engaging them a lot more in how they reinvent their businesses.
Who are we as an industry might be the biggest challenge. There have been some interesting conversations here today about what does it mean to be a wealth manager? Why does someone need that? And is it the emotional hand-holding so that you don't do the wrong thing, whereas all the information can be tech and AI and digitized, but your role, what you're doing as an industry, is the emotional issue, the hand-holding, as opposed to the technical piece. Or it could be that the industry evolves to being a partner, and it's a distribution model or a brand that we are offering, and behind the scenes we're partnering with a bunch of other industries and providers, and we become a gateway and a thoroughfare, and that's what but I think the biggest challenge is who are we? Who are we going to be? What does that model look like? Is maybe which incorporates a lot of other challenges, from robo to incursion from outside the industry to regulatory change, all of that sort of embedded in this, who are we going to be when we grow up?